Relics of a forgotten age. The HSS Resolute drifted through the void, its hull bearing the scars of 3 decades of service. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind her back as she gazed at the holographic display before her. The ship's diagnostic report glowed red in a dozen places, not critical failures, but the persistent aches and pains of an aging vessel. "Still holding together, old girl," she murmured, running her hand along the worn command console. Commander Jackson approached with a datapad. "Captain, Fleet Command has responded to our maintenance request." Chen sighed. "Let me guess. Denied again." "Yes, Mom. The official response states that resources are allocated to newer vessels with strategic priority." Chen nodded, unsurprised. The human defense fleet was the laughingstock of the galactic community, a collection of outdated vessels held together by patches, prayers, and the stubborn ingenuity of their crews. The sleek ships of the Arcturian Concordat, or the crystalline vessels of the Cybari, made human ships look like museum pieces. "What about the reactor modifications?" Chen asked. Jackson smiled. "Chief Engineer Patel says they'll be online by 800 tomorrow. He's managed to increase output efficiency by 17% using those salvaged components from Proxima Station. That man could build a warp drive out of scrap metal and duct tape," Chen said with a hint of pride. "Tell him." The alert klaxon cut her off, its wail echoing through the bridge. Lieutenant Rodriguez at the sensor station straightened suddenly. "Captain, multiple warp signatures detected approaching the Epsilon perimeter. Configuration unknown, but it's big, ma'am. Really big." Chen moved swiftly to the tactical station. "Show me." The display revealed dozens of vessels emerging from warp space near the outermost colony of human territory. Their design was angular, predatory, with a distinctive silhouette that sent a chill down Chen's spine. "Vexari," she breathed. The Vexari Empire was a recent power in the galactic scene, aggressive, expansionist, and armed with technology that outpaced most established species. They had already absorbed 3 smaller civilizations in the past decade. Now, apparently, they had humanity in their sights. "All hands to battle stations," Chen ordered, "and get me Fleet Command immediately." Within hours, the remnants of humanity's defense fleet, 12 capital ships including the Resolute and 23 smaller vessels, assembled at the Epsilon perimeter. Admiral Hassan's weathered face appeared on the main view screen. "It's confirmed, Captain Chen. The Vexari have deployed 35 capital ships and nearly 100 support vessels. Their technology outclasses ours by at least 2 generations." Chen studied the tactical display. "Have they made any demands?" "They're hailing all frequencies. Stand by." The Admiral's face was replaced by a Vexari commander. Their exoskeletal features were arranged in what Chen recognized as an expression of smug confidence. "I am Supreme Commander Kexvor of the glorious Vexari Empire," the alien announced. "Your species has been assessed and found suitable for integration into our dominion. Your technology is primitive, your defenses inadequate. Surrender now and become productive subjects, or face eradication." Admiral Hassan appeared in a split screen. "This is Admiral Hassan of the Earth Defense Force. We have no quarrel with the Vexari Empire and suggest diplomatic." "Diplomacy is for equals," Kexvor interrupted. "Your vessels are relics. We have scanned them thoroughly. Outdated propulsion systems, minimal shield capabilities, and weapon systems that barely qualify as more than point defense. It would be humorous if it weren't so pitiful." Chen watched Hassan's jaw tighten. "We're more capable than your scans might suggest. You have 6 Earth hours to transmit your surrender. After that, we will demonstrate the futility of resistance." The transmission cut off. Hassan turned to Chen. "Captain, I'm promoting you to acting Rear Admiral for this operation. Your experience with unconventional tactics may be our only advantage." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Sir, there are more qualified. There are more senior, but none more qualified. You've kept that obsolete ship not just functional, but combat effective through ingenuity and unorthodox thinking. That's exactly what we need now. As the fleet prepared for what many believed to be their final battle, Chen gathered her fellow captains in a secure virtual conference. "They think our ships are junk," she said, "and on paper, they're right. Our reactors are a generation behind. Our hull materials can't match their composites. Our official weapons specs are laughable compared to theirs." Captain Rise of the HSS Defiant snorted. "Tell us something we don't know, Chen." Chen smiled. "What if I told you that's exactly why we're going to win?" Over the next 5 hours, Chen outlined a strategy so unorthodox that several captains initially objected. But as she explained the details, the hidden capabilities of their supposedly obsolete vessels, the modifications that had never been reported to Fleet Command, the tactics developed in secret war games, objections turned to cautious optimism. "The Vexari have studied our official specifications," Chen concluded. "They expect outdated ships with predictable capabilities. They don't know what our engineers have accomplished with limited resources and unlimited creativity." When the 6-hour deadline approached, the human fleet formed up in what appeared to be a standard defensive posture. Admiral Hassan transmitted their response to the Vexari. "We respectfully decline your offer and stand ready to defend our territory." The Vexari fleet began its advance, their formation displaying absolute confidence. Their sleek vessels, bristling with advanced weapon systems, moved with precision toward the human defenders. On the bridge of the Resolute, Chen watched the enemy approach. "They're not even bothering with evasive patterns," Lieutenant Rodriguez noted. "They don't consider us a threat." "Good," Chen replied. "Complacency before combat gets people killed." She keyed the fleet-wide channel. "All vessels maintain standard protocols until my mark. Let them think their intelligence is accurate." The first salvos from the Vexari cut through space. Warning shots designed to demonstrate their superior range and power. The energy blasts detonated just short of the human formation, a clear message of their technological advantage. Chen watched the energy readings with interest rather than fear. As expected, their weapon signatures match our intelligence. Now we know exactly what we're dealing with. She tapped her console. "All vessels. Operation Trojan Horse commences in 30 seconds. Confirm readiness." As confirmations flooded in, Chen turned to her first officer. "Commander Jackson, it's time to show the Vexari what these relics can really do." The wisdom in old steel. The Vexari fleet advanced in perfect formation, weapon systems primed for what their tactical computers predicted would be a brief, decisive engagement. Supreme Commander Kexfor watched from his command throne as the primitive human vessels held their position, their outdated sensors no doubt struggling to track his advanced ships. "Pathetic," he chittered to his executive officer. "Their hulls couldn't withstand even our tertiary weapon systems." "Supreme Commander," the tactical officer called out. "The human vessels are activating their engines. They appear to be retreating." Kexfor's mandibles clicked in amusement. "As expected, target their engineering sections. Let them witness true power before the end." The Vexari fleet launched its first coordinated attack, a devastating barrage designed to cripple the human ship's propulsion systems. Energy weapons lanced across space toward the fleeing vessels. Aboard the HSS Resolute, Captain Chen watched the incoming fire on her tactical display and allowed herself a small smile. "Now," she commanded. Across the human fleet, panels slid open on seemingly solid hull sections, revealing concealed defense systems. The ships suddenly changed vector with acceleration that defied their official specifications. As the Vexari weapons reached their targets, they encountered not the expected minimal shielding but concentrated defensive fields that scattered the energy into harmless radiation. "Status report," Chen demanded. "All ships reporting minimal impact," Captain Rodriguez reported. "Defensive systems functioning at 92% efficiency." The Vexari appear, confused. On his flagship, Kexavor rose from his command throne, mandibles flaring in surprise. "Impossible. Their shields should have collapsed instantly. Supreme Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the human vessels, his science officer reported. Their reactor outputs are significantly higher than our scans indicated. Before HFY could respond, the human fleet executed another maneuver that contradicted everything in the Vexeri tactical database. Instead of maintaining their retreat, the vessels split into pre-planned groups, their formation dissolving into what appeared to be chaos, but was actually a carefully orchestrated dance. They're attempting to confuse our targeting systems, HFY's tactical officer observed. A futile gesture. Execute Pattern Dominance 3, HFY ordered. Surround and eliminate. As the Vexeri ships moved to encircle the scattered human fleet, Chen's voice echoed through the communication systems of every Earth vessel. Execute Chimera Protocol. The aging human ships suddenly revealed their true nature. What the Vexeri had dismissed as outdated sensor arrays reconfigured themselves into advanced electronic warfare platforms. Outdated communication dishes rotated to become focused disruptor emitters. Maintenance hatches opened to deploy swarms of small, unshielded drones. The electronic warfare assault hit the Vexeri fleet like a tsunami. Their sophisticated neural-linked command systems, designed to process vast amounts of battlefield data, were suddenly flooded with contradictory information. Sensor ghosts appeared and vanished. Communication channels filled with indecipherable noise. Navigation systems reported phantom gravitational anomalies. What is happening? HFY demanded as his command display flickered and distorted. It's some kind of primitive jamming system, his communications officer struggled to explain. But it's targeting our neural interfaces directly. The frequency patterns are unlike anything in our database. The human drones, meanwhile, swarmed around the Vexeri vessels, not attacking, but creating a constantly shifting electromagnetic environment that further confused the enemy sensors. Chen's fleet had transformed from prey to predator. The HSS Resolute led a squadron directly toward the Vexeri flagship, executing maneuvers that should have been impossible for such an old vessel. They've underestimated us in every possible way, Chen told her bridge crew. Their tactical database says our reactors can't sustain combat operations beyond 20 minutes. Their intelligence reports claim our weapons can't penetrate their armor. Their entire strategy assumes we fight by the book. She leaned forward. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Resolute suddenly accelerated to combat velocity, its supposedly outdated engines pushing it forward with surprising force. From concealed hardpoints along its hull, weapon systems emerged that weren't supposed to exist on a human vessel of this class. Magnetic acceleration cannons online, Rodriguez reported. Targeting Vexeri command ship. Chen nodded. Fire. The MAC guns, officially decommissioned 30 years ago, but secretly upgraded and maintained, fired in perfect synchronization. Hypervelocity projectiles crossed the void and struck the Vexeri flagship with devastating precision. The kinetic impact hammered through shields calibrated for energy weapons, tearing into the advanced armor. Throughout the battlefield, other human vessels revealed their own secrets. The HSS Defiant launched electromagnetic pulse torpedoes that had been disguised as life pods. The HSS Intrepid deployed a gravity well generator repurposed from mining operations that disrupted the Vexeri formation. Smaller craft executed hit-and-run attacks with weapons cobbled together from civilian technology, but deadly effective nonetheless. In the chaos, HFY struggled to regain control of his forces. This is impossible. Their technology is inferior. Their ships are obsolete. His tactical officer, neural interface glitching under the human electronic assault, shook his head. Supreme Commander, I believe we have miscalculated. These aren't standard military vessels. They're custom battleships disguised as outdated cruisers. Understanding dawned on HFY too late. The humans hadn't been denied resources for newer ships. They had chosen to keep their old vessels, modifying them beyond recognition, creating a fleet that defied conventional analysis. While the Vexari and other advanced species had standardized their military technology for efficiency, humans had embraced chaotic innovation. No two human ships were exactly alike. No database could accurately predict their capabilities. The outdated hulls concealed cutting-edge systems built from scavenged parts, black market technology, and ingenious workarounds. The battle reached its climax as the Resolute faced off against Kexvor's damaged flagship. The human vessel, its hull scorched and breached in multiple sections, still pressed the attack. "One more volley," Chen ordered, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. "Target their command center." The Resolute's remaining weapons fired in unison, a mix of official armaments and jury-rigged systems that shouldn't have worked together but somehow did. The barrage tore through the already weakened sections of the Vexari flagship, destroying its primary power distribution network. As systems failed across his vessel, Kexvor made the decision that no Vexari commander had made in generations. "All vessels, disengage and retreat. Repeat, disengage and retreat." The surviving Vexari ships broke off, their formation in tatters, and disappeared into warp space, leaving behind nearly a third of their fleet destroyed or crippled by what they had dismissed as technological inferiors. On the bridge of the Resolute, Chen allowed herself to sink back into her command chair. The cost had been high. 5 human vessels lost, others severely damaged. But they had achieved what the galactic community had thought impossible. They had defeated the Vexari war machine. "Send to all vessels," she said quietly. "Well done. Return to defensive positions." In the days that followed, the story spread throughout known space. How a collection of outdated human ships had decimated the most advanced fleet in the quadrant. How technological superiority had fallen to improvisation and unpredictability. As the Resolute limped back to Earth for repairs, Chen received messages from a dozen species offering technology exchanges, alliance proposals, and diplomatic recognition. The ship that had been denied basic maintenance funding was now being studied by military analysts across the galaxy. "They still don't understand," Chen told Commander Jackson as they watched repair drones swarm over the Resolute's battered hull. "It was never about having the best technology. It was about using what we had in ways no one could predict." Jackson nodded. "They laughed at our old ships until we wiped out their navy," Chen finished with a smile. "I suspect no one will be laughing anymore." In the aftermath of what became known as the Epsilon Stand, humanity's position in the galactic community transformed overnight. Their aging fleet, once dismissed as obsolete, was now recognized as one of the most dangerous military forces in known space, not despite their old ships, but because of them. Retroclawed can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.